I'm here with John Lotherington, who is not only a trustee of the Foundation for Democracy and Sustainable Development, but is also a historian. John, I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about how an awareness of history and of our past can inspire long-term thinking about our futures.
Certainly, I think it's really interesting how there has been a gathering sense of our heritage. The National Trust, for instance, is one of the largest voluntary membership organisations in the country. I think it's about 4 million people now. And they're so aware of what was achieved and created for the long term in the past. But what I think is really interesting is the possibility of people visiting the great estates, the great woodlands that are preserved by the National Trust, and think a little bit about the attitudes that lay behind the creation of these things. And the creation, something that crossed the social scale. You had the great aristocrats creating the great estates. And it's interesting to think about what they did with their woodlands. They planted those trees very often without any chance of seeing them mature in their own lifetimes. They were planting for future generations. At the other end of the social scale, villagers, agricultural workers, were maintaining woodlands, again through pollarding, and preserving them not just for their own use, but again for future generations, knowing that that was the only way they could sustain their livelihoods. Now, what lay behind that across the social scale, and incidentally that was a very inequitable social structure, but what bound the two ends of that social structure together was a different sense of time. They had a real understanding that they had inherited something and needed to pass it on, if anything improved, to future generations, and certainly not to damage it. That sense of creativity through time is something that I think we can regain if we look at these great estates, if we look at our heritage, not as something in aspic, not as something that's there just to be beautiful now, but as something that was truly lived and with a vision that we need to recapture of what's going to be in the future for future generations.